Perfect. So now we're recording. So what we're going to do today, we're talking about pillar two, effective time management. And I think you find, and you've probably run into this yourself, but with me all over the world and having my own call center and consulting and running departments with big call centers. I mean, I found, you ask most team leaders, at pretty much any call center anywhere, how much time they spend developing and coaching and working with the team training. And most of them will tell you not enough time, and then when you drill down, you find out it basically means no time.
Yeah.
And, and they're quick to add, that they'd like to, but they just got so many other things coming in their way that they just don't have time to do it. And it's always got me kind of surprised because that, to my way of thinking, is their number one priority.
Mm-hmm.
In my life, I've kind of tongue-in-cheek had this old saying is, I want to be the laziest manager God ever created, and I'll work damn hard to get there. The whole idea is that, you imagine that, if everybody's firing all at the same time, all you need to be is a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And that's a great place to be. A lot of, there's no stress in all of that. However, you have to get people to that place.
Yeah.
Especially newbies. And with call centers, they're coming and going all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, 200% or 300% turnover outbound, particularly, turnover in a year is not uncommon. So, people are coming and going all the time, and a lot of times, if they were more successful, they wouldn't be leaving, or they wouldn't be leaving straight away.
Yeah.
So anyway, and the interesting thing is that when you look, and I'll share my screen, I mean, when you talk to them about it and you drill down to find out what they're, all the things that they've got going, oftentimes they've got a point. When we look at this here, let me just move you guys there. So, when they look at general admin and human resources and things like that, you got a list of all different things they've got to do here. Then even, team supervision and development, there's a whole bunch of things there. And sometimes what you find is that organically their tasks grow to fill a gap previously, and people forget what the gap was all about.
Yeah.
It was short term. I remember this old story about, this second lieutenant came out of, what's your top military college there? I forget now.
West Point?
West Point, yeah.
Yeah.
So he came out of West Point, and he was put in charge of a artillery group battery, and he noticed that there was 4 guys, I think. One was shooting, one was aiming, one was loading, and the 4th guy was just like a floater. He's pilots. So he wondered why there's 4 people. You obviously just need 3. So he asked them, he said, so guys, why have we got 4 when we really just need 3? And, the response was, that's just the regs, sir. So he was curious about that. And he went back through history, through the regs to find out why. And he found out what the 4th guy was doing. Have a guess what the 4th guy was doing with that group.
I don't even know.
He was holding the horses.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's how old it is.
Well, that's it. But you see, sometimes things just keep evolving. And, a team leader can, okay, get you guys to do this because we just, we need you to do this for a couple of days or a couple of weeks. And next thing you know, it just quiet. Next thing you know, it becomes, it becomes just the way they do it, and people just keep doing it. So often you got to go back and look at what they're doing and thinking about, is that the highest and best use of their time? what you find is that, there's two things in life you never get back, and that's time and energy.
Yeah.
Once you spent the time, you never recover it. And once you spent the energy, you never get that back either. So obviously what we've got to do is make sure we spend our time and energy as effectively as we can,
Yeah.
to get the most out of that. So, I mean, even recently, when I've been doing some consulting for a few of my clients here, there was one Ice Vacations and another one Empire Group most recently. And I'll mention them. I mean, I went in to consult with them, set up their training program for their team leaders with their call center manager and their team leader. And just, doing this exercise with them about what do you do each day, and there's a big disconnect between what the people who own the business thought and the senior managers thought they were doing and what they were actually doing.
Yeah.
And when things didn't get done, they're going, well, why isn't this getting done? And, the simple answer to that is because you can't expect what you don't inspect, and you can't inspect what you don't have mapped out.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got to have some discipline. And what we're going to go through today is a team leader scheduler tool that I put together, as well as a call center manager scheduler tool. And frankly, this could be done for anybody. Okay. Yeah. But there's a process here. And as you see, it's in the beginning, it takes some work to put it together. But once it's done, it's 15 minutes every week. So let me pull that up. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Okay, let me just pull that up, share the screen, and I think we'll start with, let's say, the team leader scheduler tool. Now, can you see that okay?
Not yet.
Oh, your screen sharing's paused. Why is it paused? Resume share. Why is my screen paused? So you can't see it, huh?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'll just turn it off again, and I'll pause, stop. Okay, recording. Stop recording. Okay. I don't know why this isn't coming up. Could you see the previous screen that I had up?
I did, yes, sir.
Okay. So can you see this?
Yes, I can now.
Perfect. Okay, so what we do here, interesting exercise, and this might be good for you, definitely good for you to do. And, and Michelle should be looking at doing this too. And make sure you go through this with the team. And the first thing to do, step one, is you make a list of all the tasks that occur every day, every week, or infrequently, and you specify, specifically specific dates if necessary. So, excuse me, what you do is you take your task list, and often you can find this on the job descriptions, if you have that. Plus, a lot of those always have this thing, and other duties as required.
Yeah.
Yeah, and often those other duties as required are quite large. So what you need to do is put those in. So if we look at general admin, I mean, they need to respond to emails and internal communications every day. There's going to be daily meetings or weekly meetings with the call center manager or other people. Some people do plan and implement the staffing schedules, and even help with recruitment. I think Michelle mentioned you guys are going to have, people help, team leaders and supervisors help with recruitment. When you look at team supervision general, make sure that they have the resources to perform their jobs, and that could be, connectivity, right headsets, all those sorts of things. Conduct performance reviews and check out the stats of people, how they're tracking on their KPIs and actual targets. prepare warnings and give reprimands and things like that when they're required. Do you guys have a reward recognition programs at all?
Not yet. Nope.
Yeah, you need to get those going. And weekly things, monitor their KPIs, pre-shift meetings. Everybody should have a quick huddle before they get going. Supervise team members so, calls are answered in a timely manner, all that kind of thing, coaching, development, all these things. So once you've got them listed, what you need to do next is determine what priority they are, okay?
Yeah.
Because you'll find that people gravitate to those things they're most comfortable with.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily those things that are required, or that important. So, the best way to do this is just put it as an A, B, or C priority, A being the top priority. Next thing is, in those groups, A group, list the things 1 through to 10 or more, So if it's a first priority, that should be 1. So if we look at A1 here, identify team member coaching and training needs. If you don't do that, you don't know what to train them on, right?
Yeah.
And then, A2 is, conduct call monitoring or scoring and team members' calls to identify the training needs and determine how many, team members need training each week. So those are, 2 top priorities, but how often do they, team leaders actually do this?
Yeah. At USAA, whenever I was working there, we would have no coachings on Monday, especially Monday morning, mainly because that was the highest call volume. That was our peak for the week.
Yep.
So everybody needed to be assisting with phones.
Yeah.
So that would be the reason. You know what I mean? You would ask them like, "Hey, how come you haven't coached this person?" It's like, "Oh, well, I haven't got around to it, and we're not allowed to coach on Mondays." And it's like,
it's all excuses.
Yeah.
When you mentioned round to it, you reminded me of this old training guy called Zig Ziglar. Have you heard of Zig Ziglar before? He was very big 60s, 70s, towards the 80s. If you Google him, you'll find he's one of these, big motivational sales guys. And he used to have a thing that he had created in his pocket. And they were like round discs with a hole in them. And imprinted around the disc was round to it. And people said, "Oh, look, I'll do it when I get round to it." So he'd put his hand in his pocket and he'd hand it to them and say, "Okay, here's your round to it. Get on it." Yeah. Now, this could have really helped eliminate their excuse because, if oftentimes they'll say what you just said because that's just an excuse.
Yeah.
And this exercise really fixes that. So, the next thing you got to do is say, okay, how much time is fair and reasonable for people to complete this particular task? And if you look at just, respond to emails and internal communications, 15 minutes should pull it up, right?
Yeah.
And if their situation is different and it's 10 minutes, great, go 10 minutes. If it's a half an hour, okay, fine, it's a half an hour.
Yeah.
Then you look at what's the best days of the week. And that depends on your situation. And, if it's daily, fine, daily. And then what's the best time of the day? Now, it could be various times of the day. And what we do now is we're going to schedule this in. So when you've gone through this, and this is what takes the longest part, you look at all of that, you come down to even A1, A2. Maybe in your situation back at the old place, it wasn't Mondays, that could have been Tuesdays. So what you do down here is you get them, you know, they put their team leader schedule there and they put the dates. They do this every week, you know, have them schedule it. They do it in the week before to give it to you for Monday, if that's the way your week goes. And all you end up doing is you grab, you know, these things and you know how long and when to put them in. So you just go in and do it here, you know. So as this example shows, you know, 8:30, they're reviewing the team stats and prepping, getting ready for the team huddle. So I got a half an hour to do that. Now, the great thing about these things is that if it doesn't take them a half hour, that means they get a little time up their sleeve.
Yeah.
You know, but at least there's no way they can come back to you and say, oh, I didn't have any, you know, there wasn't enough time. And,
Yeah.
you know, well, what were you doing otherwise?
Yeah.
You know, people need to be disciplined with their time. And often, particularly with team leaders, we need to have a structure in place that disciplines them to their time.
Yeah.
Eliminates all their excuses. I mean, a manager's job, in my view, you know, one of their jobs is to make sure everybody has all the tools and resources to get the job done, and eliminate all their excuses, meaning any other roadblocks that come up, they're there to pave them and get them out of the way. So you can see here, you know, just right across. They've got the, you know, team stuff, and then, you know, identify if it's not Monday, it could be Tuesday, it doesn't matter. You know, the coaching needs and or training needs. You know, schedule in that weekly meeting with the call center manager. I mean, in your situation with the supervisors and team leaders and that, is there a weekly meeting that you guys all have?
Yeah, Fridays.
Yeah, and how long are those?
Man, we put them for 30 minutes, but I mean, the last 2 times they've gone like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And not at anybody's, you know, or they're like, oh, we need to get off the phone. We need to get off the phone. It's, you know, with the coronavirus, we constantly need to talk about it. There's a lot more to talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with us being out of the office, coordinating amongst each other, you know, through emails, that time that we talk. So instead of making it more frequently, you know, because we, you know, we're tied up doing a whole bunch of items.
Yeah.
We just knock it all out once on a Friday, and then we just let everything out, and then we enjoy our weekend because we know we're just going to get right back at on Monday.
Yeah.
But yeah, they start at 3:00, and this last one didn't stop until 5, and I think the Friday before lasted till like 4:30. So
yeah. Well, maybe the thing is, you know, up to you guys what you decide, but you know, meetings that go on for that a long time, you know, can't necessarily be that productive for everybody.
no, and so what that really was also was we treat it like a happy hour.
Okay.
Where it's not just about work, but we also get the chance to joke around and just kind of get our face on camera and see each other, because we're so used to seeing each other in the office and conversing with each other, making jokes and passing and stuff like that. So there's a strong sense of camaraderie. Like, we argue like any team does. We have disagreements like any team does. But I mean, it is what it is. I think we all miss each other. You know, we all miss working with each other. Like even the past 2 nights, I was on the project with Mike. And so he calls me at 11 o'clock at night, and he's like, "Hey man, I need to talk to you, because if not, I'm gonna fall asleep." So we just working on our laptops on a call, and we weren't really even talking the majority of the time. We were just like hearing each other. You know what I mean? Like typing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then even so, last night we got on the call and cranked it out together. So
Cool.
But I do get you. Meetings should be they should stay on task. They should be on point.
Yeah. Just, you know, a couple of items. And, you know, I believe a lot in what I call hallway meetings. You know, you got something, you just go, you know, grab the person you need and take care of it in 5 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, got to remember there's an old law of work And I think it could be there could be a law of meetings. You know, work expands to the time allotted.
Yeah.
You know, if you guys only had half an hour for the meeting and you were strict to that, you would, you know, it would, and you would focus on what's the most important things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so just coming here and you know, obviously they got to supervise their teams, and you need time for them to do that. Another important thing, very important, is make sure that people schedule in their breaks. You know, oftentimes team leaders particularly can just go through their day and then they realize they didn't have a break for lunch, they didn't have a break, you know, for in the morning or the afternoon. And, you know, there's a thing that's really important to remember is that rest is a weapon. You know, they need time to clear their heads,
Yeah.
you know, and get them, you know, to focus and just take a breath and things like that. So the other thing too is, you know, here, you know, call monitoring and scoring a team member's call to identify the coaching needs. Do you folks have recorded calls that your team leaders can access all the time?
We're implementing 5.9 to be able to do that. So.
Okay, so that'll be off your dialer, I guess, off your software.
Yep.
Yeah. Are there any calls that you guys would have recorded now?
No.
No. Okay. Because I'm just thinking ahead for when we do the coachable call structure, you know, and then the monitoring, scoring, and feedback, you know, in the next little while. So you can see here too. Now on this day, you know, performance review. Now that's with a specific team member. You know, typically with teams, you know, and I think 10 to 12 is probably the good number ratio, you know, 10 to 12 team members to a team leader. It depends, you know, I mean, in certain work, I mean, that could go up to 20. And you figure 80% of them show up anyway, you know, on any given day. And, you know, so, I mean, if you had 12, you end up with 10. That's easy to manage and stay on top of and coach and help. If it's 20, you know, you get 16, but if it's all inbound, that's not too difficult, you know, customer service type thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to, say, selling. So, you know, what they would do here is they'd indicate specific people. Now, part of what they're going to do with this, as I recommend, is they print this out and they stick it at their workplace, okay, the workstation. And they also hand a copy to their immediate supervisor. The supervisor can plug it in. So what they can do is they say, okay, at Tuesday at 2 o'clock, they're training or they're reviewing such and such a person's stats. So I know where to find them, and they can go look for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if they're not doing it, say, why aren't you doing it?
Yeah.
And that's, you know, because like I said, you can't expect what you don't inspect. And if people know that you're going to, they're, you know, you're checking, they're going to be doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You
and
know,
they have the expectations you're going to be inspecting. So.
Well, yeah, you've got to set the expectations. Now, if this is on their desk, you know, maybe one of their team's looking for them anyway because they really, really need something right now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, when they are offline, and this is why I recommend, you know, all teams have team captains or a second. So, you know, when they're doing these things, if somebody needs help straight away, there's somebody in the team that they know they can go to.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of this stuff just takes 5 seconds to answer the question, you know, but you can't be, you know, focusing on team stats or even giving coaching if you're being interrupted all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and this team member performance review doesn't necessarily relate to this specific team member. You know, you notice you know, in this situation, I didn't put any coaching on Mondays.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, oftentimes Mondays are just a terrible day.
Yeah. Things break over the weekend and
Well, the thing
So,
is, you're jammed up with all this work. It could be like in that case you were saying, it could be the same as what do you call it? It's just your heaviest call day. So that's
yeah,
not a good time to do these things. And then of course you see the emails 3:30 to 4. So in this particular thing, you've got emails at the beginning of the day, emails at the end of the day. Oftentimes, if you just kept it to that rather than checking your emails all the
yeah,
time, I mean, if you go in, maybe you've got a few, and if there's way too many emails, you've got to have a look at what are they all about. I mean, I
yeah,
used to have a rule with my staff is it's okay not to respond by saying thank you. Somebody sends you, hey, John, can you send me this? They send it to you, and then you reply, thank you. It's polite, but the thing is, all these little things add up.
yeah,
Just threw something in here, if they're doing interviews. Now, if there are no interviews, well, then they've got time, right?
yeah,
So they've got that all scheduled every day, and there's still plenty of time. I mean, if what time do your shifts start there?
for me, mine's at 7.
No, I mean for the team.
Oh, 24/7
Oh,
is yeah,
okay. So I mean, if they're working, let's say, do they work 5 or 6 hour shifts or 8 hour shifts?
8 hours.
Okay, so it'd be like 9 to 5 type thing, 5 to, or I don't
Yeah, it
know.
would be like a 7:30 to 4,
Got
because it's a 30-minute lunch. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So they just schedule that accordingly.
yeah,
And when you look here, I mean, there's an hour. Once you get your huddle and do your team huddle and off they go. Not a lot is happening then, so it's a good time then to get yourself organized on a few things. So when you look at that, I mean, if there's no meeting, of course there'd be no meeting and just admin, but there's still plenty of supervising going on the floor, right?
yeah.
All right.
Plenty.
So what do you think of this process?
I mean, I like it. It's very thorough. I did something similar, trying to um, get a better handle of the work and life balance. You know what I mean? To where I was even setting time for my drive to work, my drive home, what I do when I get home. You know what I mean? So I'm not ignoring the items at home because I'm so exhausted at work.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I've done that before.
Yeah. Well, you got a young son, eh?
Yeah,
They require a lot of attention.
a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of oversight and a lot of, teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. And you need time for you too.
Yeah, then I
You
I
know,
recognize that also. Yeah.
yeah, you need some downtime. There's and you were in the Air Force, you would know this better than I would. There's a reason why, when they're doing this safety briefing, before takeoff on a commercial airline, and they say, look, if the masks drop down,
Yeah.
put it on your face first before you put it on any of your children. And the reason for that is you can't protect them if you're not capable.
Yeah.
So you got to remember, as a father with a young kid, you got to make sure you put your mask on first, so you're in great shape for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now, there's also another one that I've done for the call center manager. Now, can you still see my screen there?
I can. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it says call center manager scheduler tool.
Uh-huh.
Okay, great. Now it's the same process. Obviously, there's going to be different tasks, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. This is the sort of thing Michelle should be doing for herself. And there's a lot of admin, I'm sure. So rather than list it all there, list all of them. You've got to be reviewing the center and the team specific stats every week.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, the call center business is an hourly game, isn't it?
it is. Or even 30 minutes. We do it by interval. An
Yeah.
interval is 30 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. There's things that you can do with technology that you know, if you've got everything, and usually the IT teams have to do this, is pull it all into a prioritize. Sorry, pri, pri, your own company's internal stats
Yeah,
reports, right? And there's a way that they can trigger if there's some um, tripwires, you know,
yeah,
call answerings at a certain level or something else, you know, a text message or a email can be sent to
yeah,
specific people, you know, so they can
yep,
get on it. You know, senior prep meeting times, you know, prepping for meetings is important. A lot of people don't spend the time doing that. And
uh,
because of that, meetings can go on forever.
yeah. They're or taken over by somebody else, and just
Yeah.
um, the
Yeah.
message that you try to convey doesn't get delivered because you just didn't prepare on how you were going to deliver it. You were more focused on the content than the delivery.
Yeah. Yeah. And both are really, really important,
Yeah.
obviously. You know, team leader, is it intended with Michelle, do you think, to meet with each of her team leaders every week, one-on-one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, you know, having a structure there. And obviously you've got to put that time in. Plus you got to be conscious when you're doing that, that it fits with their schedule. You know, there's no conflicts. You don't
Yeah.
want them saying, oh, I didn't do the training because we had our meeting,
Yeah.
you know? So that's why it's good. Another reason for them to say, here's my schedule for the week.
Yeah.
Uh, One-on-one team leader meetings we talked about, you know, and the call center managers as well, they need to specify, you know, specific trainings for specific team leaders, and they may not all need the same training at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and that could be related to hard skills or soft skills. You know, doesn't matter. Obviously, a lot of time they've got to set aside for recruitment. You know, staff induction, I mean, that'll probably be something you do, but Michelle would have some part of onboarding staff, I would imagine, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, that's all got to be scheduled and training needs. So, you know, when you look at particularly the team leaders previously, you know, they've got to make sure that, you know, they look at all the tasks and, you know, like I was showing before, here it is. Whoops, that's not it. Yeah, can you see my screen? Effective team management.
I mean, I'm looking at the call center manager schedule.
Okay, let me do that again. Share screen. There we go. Share. So you should see effective time management.
I do. Yep.
Yeah. So, you know, that thing, you know, once you've done the schedule, there could be a lot of things that, you know, fall out on here. And then, you know, decision needs to be made to say, well, look, who's the highest, you know, where would this task be best served? You know, if it's the team leader, well, then fine. But, you know, something may have to give to
Yeah.
make room for it. So that's where you know, doing that exercise, particularly team leaders, is important because there could be a bunch of things that come into it, you know, like that fourth person holding the horses. And maybe
Yeah.
that's something somebody in HR or somebody else, administrator within the team, looks after. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Okay, now the next thing, any questions on any of that?
No, I like it.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, it's, you know, always important to have a to-do list. And,
Yeah.
you know, the schedule is really putting that to-do list and being disciplined on when things get done, and making sure there's enough time to get them done. But recently I've come to learn again from Dean Gariozzi that it's just as important to do a do not, a not to do list.
Not to do list, yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I'll just pull something up, and I sent you that thing already, didn't I?
You did, yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just have a quick look at it. There we go. So let's just have a look at this, and this is a simple exercise. But I think it'd be good for you to do yourself, certainly for Michelle, but, incorporate this into your training with team leaders. Are you going to be responsible for the team leader training?
I will, yep.
Yeah, so I think you'll find this a really useful tool. And again, something I got from Dean Graziosi. And so you would just have them put their name and their date. And the whole idea here is, as he related it, a lot of people just, they do things because they either like doing them, or, their mindset is, oh, look, if you can do it, it's better for you to do it. It'll at least I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and it'll get done faster rather than me teach somebody else how to do it.
Yeah.
A lot of people get in that trap, and often it's because they're comfortable with doing things, but it may not be the highest and best use of their time. So just to, to work on that example, what happens here is that you list all the items that you spend time on. Okay. And then you think about what can be automated, delegated, or eliminated. Now, eliminated means you don't do them anymore. I mean, he uses the example of, he doesn't respond to voice calls anymore. He hasn't done it for 9 years because he just found it wasn't the highest and best use of his time.
Yeah.
There were other things that were more important. That's like I mentioned earlier about sending a thank you, you're welcome. I mean, some people can get ridiculous with being polite with email.
Yeah.
And, other things like he would talk about would be, he doesn't clean his house anymore. He has a cleaner do it.
Hmm.
Years ago, he didn't do his front yard and do his gardening and mow his grass and all that because he found that he could get somebody else to do it because the time it took him away from the more important things that made him more money.
Yeah.
So the thing is, we've got to be careful. I mean, again, it goes back to you've only got so much time and energy. So you got to make sure you're using that time and energy as powerful using that time and energy as effectively as you can. To give you an example, I've put some down of mine. I was in, and you could probably hear, now you understand why I was talking about long unstructured meetings earlier.
Yeah.
I just found it was just punishing. It's okay to have one of those long ones, and give you an example. When I was at a core vacate, I was the general manager marketing, like the VP, and I had 13 direct reports. One being a call center manager and others in the creative spheres and things like that. And, we would have a meeting for every week, and they'd go like 2-3 hours sometimes. And it was just, sucking the air out of us. And, if you're having a meeting for more than 20-30 minutes, you've lost people because they're on a mental holiday every 8 minutes. So I said, okay, we're going to eliminate these weekly, and we just have one monthly. And then we move that to quarterly, because then we'd have these small catch-ups one-on-one. If you need 2 or 3 people at a time, 5-10 minutes, this is what we need, why, off you go,
Yeah.
So I eliminated those. Even with my business here, conducting live webinars, to attract clients can be very time consuming, particularly when you can create evergreens. You can do the webinar once, and then you can provide that to people as a on demand,
Yeah.
So, what's important is the content. It's not necessarily that I'm doing it live all the time. So, I've eliminated the live ones, but basically I could have said that I've, automated them. Managing my social media accounts. I didn't put a circle on that, but that would be delegating, getting somebody like a VA for me to spend all that time, because it can suck up a lot of time, posting and doing things like that. And that's not the highest and best use of my time. What I find, if I'm doing that based on what I could be earning doing other things,
Yeah.
I become the most expensive social media account person in the world.
Yeah.
When you think about that, and particularly with you, when you think about your time and Michelle as well, have a look at what you do and things that you either need to eliminate, you can delegate, or you can automate.
Yeah.
So you've got more time to put onto the things that move the needle for you.
What I like about this the most is that I can tie the Eisenhower matrix to something like this. Where
Tell me, I'm not familiar with it. Tell me about it.
So it's where you take the priority and urgency. So if it's high priority, high urgency, it's a 1. If it's
Gotcha.
if it's low priority, high urgency.
And it's on that matrix. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the 4 blocks, and then when you get to low urgency, low priority, you just eliminate it. But this is actually taking something, a list from morning to evening, or the start of your shift to the end of your shift, and saying, hey, what is it that you do, right? How can we automate it, delegate it, or eliminate it?
Well, I think the other thing is go the other way. Go the other way. If you have an exercise like I'm getting, and I like it. When you reminded me, I remembered it. That could be, that's kind of like, probably a good time to do that is when you do the role and responsibilities matrix as well.
Oh, the RACI? Yeah.
Yeah, and then who does what when, and then boom, what's the highest and best use of our time? Because the team leaders, their job is for their team to hit their targets every week, every day.
Yeah.
So what's stopping them from making that happen either has to be eliminated, delegated, or automated.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like where you're going with that. So tell you what, why don't you take a little time? I know you, I don't know if you had time to print this out or not, but why don't you make a list now? See if you can get a list of 10 different things that, the actions that you spend your time on. Why don't you do that right now?
Okay. Let's see.
You got a pen and paper there?
Oh, I was gonna, cause since you sent it on over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just if you write them down, you can put them in there later.
Okay.
Just to save time.
Yeah.
And just remember, as it says above, what you want to do is put a list of what actions and what things do you spend your time on that don't serve either growth, a greater income, empowerment, or a bigger future. And it doesn't necessarily need to relate just to work. You could add things. Yeah, I mean, work, you want to concentrate with your people, but I mean, there could be things in your life that you can list there too.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be just work. So start with the work things first.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's the, just tell me, what are the things that you do that you spend time on? What's the first thing you can think
Uh, the first thing that I can think of is hitting that snooze button, and I feel like that's something that I probably shouldn't do. And probably the reason, if I get to the source of the issue, why am I hitting that snooze button, is because I'm not going to bed at a reasonable time,
of?
and
Okay.
I'm not even talking about like, just the past couple of days working projects. I'm talking about like, you know, you were saying you need me time, but I'm also dating, a woman, right? So
Yep.
I have to give time to work, give time, to the home, make sure everything's, in order, give time to my son. Then we do, FaceTime dates,
Yep.
so we can see each other, give time for myself. Well, next thing you know, it's like 12:30, 1 o'clock, and
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
the turnaround time, trying to wake up at 5:45. And now that I don't have to drive to the office, it's extending it, a little later and a little later. And so it used to be I would get up at 5:45, 6 o'clock, 6:10 at the latest, make it to work by 7:30, 7:40 at the latest. I'm sorry, 6:30, 6:40 at the latest.
Yeah.
And
Eddie, you've told me enough. I get it. Write it
yeah.
down.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. So hitting the snooze button. So we'll come back to that later. Now, is that, well, actually, let's deal with it now. I mean, is that something you need to eliminate, delegate, or automate?
Eliminate.
Okay.
I definitely need to eliminate it, because I feel that,
You don't
hitting the
have to
ground
tell me
running.
why. You don't have to tell me why. Just, you eliminate it. The thing about this is now you're going to think about how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
What's the next thing?
Uh, tackle my LinkedIn learning list.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn learning.
Okay. So what does that do for you?
So what that does is it keeps me in a training mode. It keeps me always like teaching or watching videos or providing instruction. Just
Okay.
to me, it refines my skills, that in the event that, hey, Eddie,
Okay.
on
So
Monday I need you to train.
yeah. Okay. So is that something that, what actions and what things do you spend time on that don't serve growth, greater income, empowerment, or a bigger future? That does serve that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So that's not what we're talking about. So come
Okay.
up with something that you do that doesn't help you grow, or the team grow, or help you make more money, or give you more empowerment or a bigger future.
Yeah.
Think at work. I mean, what goes on at work? Are there things at work that you have to do that maybe you need to look at?
Yeah. I'm just thinking, what I could either automate or
Well, let's just
eliminate.
let's worry about, what do you find you spend the most time on at work?
My training material. I spent a lot of time in the training material.
Okay, so put that down, training material.
Okay.
Just for the sake of this exercise.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to do here is, help you how to understand how you might use the tool.
Yeah.
So, are there things in the training materials that you're talking about? I mean, you wouldn't want to eliminate that, would you? Obviously.
Yeah.
Now, can it be delegated or parts of it delegated?
I mean, at the moment, no. Parts of it really couldn't be. Yeah.
All right. Are there parts of it that can be automated?
No.
No. Okay. So move on. What's the next thing? What else do you spend most of your time on, or a lot of your time on?
Yeah. Meetings with my peers.
With your peers. What do you mean? Okay, so put that down. Meetings with peers.
Okay.
Now, are all the meetings, question to ask yourself, are all the meetings relevant? Are they all the meetings necessary? Could there be some that are eliminated? Could there be some that are automated, and maybe we use the term automated in terms of structured better?
Yeah.
Could there be rules on how much time? Think about that. And oftentimes there's people that just love to have meetings because it's a social occasion for them.
Yeah.
And that's not what meetings are for. That's what the bar's for.
Yeah.
What's the highest and best use of your time? That's what we got to be thinking about. Now, maybe there's some more in the life area. Let's talk about that. I mean, what are things in your life that you might be able to automate? Grocery shopping or delegate, cleaning the house, grocery shopping. I mean, all these different things that you do. Is it possible to get somebody that comes in and cleans the house for you once a week?
Yeah.
I mean, and when you think about that, I mean, what would it cost for somebody to come in and, how long would it take to clean your house once a week? Give it a good clean. How long does it take you?
2 hours, 2-3 hours.
And that's what I was thinking. Say it's 3 hours, and maybe you get somebody that comes in an hour and a half twice a week. What would it cost you for somebody to come in for 3 hours every week?
Yeah, I don't even know what it would cost.
Well, I mean, what's minimum wage in in San Antonio right now?
I think it's like $10 or $12, something like that.
Okay, so I mean, you wouldn't think it'd be more than that, really. Unless provided you buy all the things. So 3 hours is $36. So when you think about that $36, if you had 3 hours back, what would you do with that 3 hours?
Dedicated to my son.
Yeah, and your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Maybe you get an hour extra for him, an hour extra for Eddie, an hour extra for you and your girlfriend.
Yeah.
Now, an hour extra a week with your son, is that worth $12?
Oh, absolutely.
See, this is where we're thinking,
Yeah.
Maybe part of that is the grocery shopping. How long does it take you to do groceries every week?
I'd have to say maybe an hour, hour and a half. When you talk about, getting up and then going to the store and waiting in line and coming home, unloading everything. Yeah, hour and a half. And then you're just too tired to cook. Right?
Well, exactly. So if you got an extra hour and a half, now you're looking at an extra hour and a half with your son, an extra hour and a half for Eddie, extra hour and a half for Eddie and his girlfriend. And I guess I got to ask you, is that worth $18?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So these are the things, so these could be things you delegate.
I get you.
You see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
There's some things that just suck the time and energy out of you, and you just got to eliminate them. There's other things that, take a lot of your time and energy that aren't the highest and best use of your time.
Yeah.
And when you look at that trade-off about, well, if I got somebody else to do it, that means I get this in return.
Yeah.
You just got to understand if that trade-off's worth it.
Yeah.
So think about how you might, and then what you do here is you take the top three. What are the top 3 actions that move the needle the most in my life? So if you listed those top 3, and I mean, in my example, I put when I'm persuading people to action, when I'm creating a new training material, when I'm nurturing new partnerships, and I'm meeting with people who can get me clients. Then you look at, what are the top 3 things I must eliminate first in my life? So you have the time and the energy to spend on this. So you get that from this list, yeah?
Yes, sir.
So do that exercise for yourself. And what I'd like you to think about is, when you're doing the, when you're doing the exercise with people about their time management, this could be a good tool to start off before you get into the, the team leader scheduler tool.
Yeah.
Because then, we're starting to have a discussion about what our roles are and what we really need to do, and make sure we have the time to do it, because we want to eliminate that excuse about, I don't have the time. Or you don't want to have to go and create your own round to it.
Yeah. Yeah, like even now, I'm kind of helping out. After this, the plan is to go over to my girlfriend's and sprinkle seeds in the grass to help her grass grow, and then water her grass. I'm essentially doing that for her so that she can focus on, being with the kids and spending time with the kids and making dinner. You know what I'm saying? Like, as opposed to her having to do it herself. And then
and that's fine. I mean, you could always think about, geez, what would it cost me to get some university student to do it, and I keep a college student to do it, and I keep an eye on them. But I mean, that could be something you're doing for her to express to her your appreciation of her.
Yeah.
If you got paid for somebody to do it, that may have a negative effect for you, because she'll say, "Oh, bloody guy couldn't even make the effort to do it for me."
I would never charge her, like, ever.
No. What I'm saying is, you want to do that because that's an expression of your care for her.
Yes.
And she's going to see it that way. So, something like that, you need to do. You don't, if you got somebody to do it for you and you paid them, she probably wouldn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. So do you think this tool, you can see that doing this tool could help you personally?
Absolutely.
Yeah, spend some time on it. And then when you do it, and that's why it's important for you to do it personally, spend some time on it, and then think about, how do you introduce it and how do you teach it to your team leaders? And this sort of thing you could still even do with the frontline operators as well, but more so in a life sense,
Yeah.
rather than a work sense,
Yeah.
Sound good?
Their role is going to be a little bit more monotonous.
Yeah, well, repetitive, let's say. Right? Rather than monotonous. We don't want to put any words, action words in their heads.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, repetitive's not much better.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So look, because it's just you and me today, we're probably a little quicker. So let me ask you, I mean, based on anything we've covered today, on the scheduler tools in this, do you have any questions?
No, I think it's very comprehensive. I think maybe next time when we start, we can go over how I've filled out, the list, how I've applied it, to my life, and maybe even like the plan. If we could spend like 5 to 15 minutes on that, I think that would be cool.
Okay.
That way I know for sure, right? Like, if I tell you, hey, this is what I did, this is what I'm thinking, this is how I'm planning to deliver it, you can give me pointers here and there. You can correct me based off of how I'm.
Or give you some input. Yeah, we've got a lot. As you can see with these sessions, there's a lot that we're going to go through.
Yeah.
So we'll save those things to the end of the time. We got time. We can certainly cover them for sure.
Okay.
What about the first day? Anything from that day?
Any questions?
Sorry?
You're asking if I have any questions from the first day?
Yeah, first session.
No questions.
Okay, well, I guess we're good. Now we're going to do this. The next one is Sunday night your time, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I just try to keep it compressed so we get done, by the end of next week, we'll have this done. So, you guys will have all the tools, and I guess you can work on, developing those tools for your particular situation, go through it with Michelle and, roll it out and just keep in mind, if you need to change things or tweak them because of your situation there, no problem. Just do it.
Okay.
All right, man. Well, listen, you have a great night, and we'll catch you in a few days.
All right. Same to you, Mark. Right. Take it easy.
You too, buddy. Catch you later, and tell Michelle I hope she's feeling better soon.
All right. We'll do.
All right, buddy. Catch you later.
All right. Bye-bye.